Well, welcome back. And in this blog post, what I want to do is go over 3 free sites that help you find your best rental price in about 30 seconds. And that's about 30 seconds for each of these sites I'm going to show you. And the reason I did this one is because a lot of times when my team and myself are selling the option rights for property across the country, we're we're often finding ourselves in a position where the seller that we're working with is wanting to raise the price $100 or $200 per month to have that extra amount above the market rent go towards what is called buyer credit. And while there is definitely justification for doing that because the seller, you, are giving our tenant buyers great terms in exchange for higher pricing, such as in the rental amount and also in the purchase price, or what's called the option price. I don't really recommend it. And the reason I don't is because what we find is today, when you are searching online as a tenant buyer for property to live in, you can go to sites like Craigslist.org, also Craigslist.com. And if you see over here to the left hand side, you can see where you can put in your search criteria for your rental price range. So you can put the minimum and the maximum of what you want to search for. And you can quickly find, as you can see over here, a bunch of property that will fit that criteria. And while a rent to own is very different than a straight rental or a straight conventional sale. So again, I understand that there's a difference here, and I understand that you, the seller, are providing different value and a lot more value, in my opinion. It's not as easily understood by the tenant buyer who's never even heard of this. In fact, this may even be new to you, and this may be why you're at this blog, to get this information so you can learn about it as well. And I used to be a realtor with Keller Williams and Remax City Horizons out in Denver, Colorado. And I had never heard of rent to own or lease options because it was creative seller financing that I had just simply not been trained for when I got my exam. So most realtors are not familiar with lease options or other types of creative seller financing like land contract, contract for deeds, and even some attorneys are not trained for that either, unless they are real estate attorneys that specialize in that specific area. So my point here is that your buyer is not familiar with this, and they will quickly look at your property in most cases as being overpriced, and then they will overlook your property and go to your competitor and just stick with a straight rental if they can't buy outright. And so while you do definitely deserve to make more money because you're extending great terms to a future homeowner, my recommendation is that you search our blog here and find other ways that we show how you can do this without overpricing yourself, because I believe the rental price is the most sensitive and the most important as far as capturing enough future tenant buyer prospects for your property, of which that you can then choose from and see which ones you like best. So I like to have a bunch of them show up all at the same time, which you can learn in our other blog posts with respect to the auction strategy that we teach how to get your full asking price, pay no fees, and get a buyer within 7 days using our auction strategy. So definitely check out that blog post. But I like to have a lot of options that I can choose from, whereas if I every $100 that I add to my rental price, the less options I'm going to get the days of my showing. So the following, I'm going to show you 3 sites where you can quickly, within 30 seconds, plug in a little bit of information like your address, how many bedrooms and baths you have, and what you want for the rental price, and see if in fact you are priced correctly. So the first site is a free site called rentometer.com, as you see on the screen. And as you can see, you can just simply put in the address, the rental amount, and how many bedrooms you have. And then you can press this blue button here that says Analyze My Rental. And it will tell you if you are overpriced or underpriced or priced just right using this meter. That's why they call it Rentometer. And so you can go there again. It's free. and it's a cool little tool to get you the beginning stages of checking out your rental amount and seeing if you're priced right. Then you can move on, and in the same token, go to a site called zippy.com, ZILPY.com, and same thing. Enter in your criteria based on your particular property, and within seconds, as the site denotes, you can figure out if you're priced well or not. And then the third site would be something that you're probably a little bit more familiar with, and that's Zillow.com's RentZestimate. And as you can see here on this image, it says RentZestimate, and it'll tell you what properties that have rented for in your area and really close to your area have rented for. As you can see, this is in Los Angeles, so rent's not cheap, but maybe you're in the Midwest or somewhere along the lines, and so your rental amount's going to be different based on that. So the quick takeaways here, again, are to check out these three sites and just enter your address, bedrooms, and the desired rental amount that you want, and get a feel for what you're priced at. Be careful not to get greedy and ask too much for your property, because if you do, you will simply overprice your property and it will sit. And then you stigmatize your property as well, because people go, how come that property is sitting? What's wrong with it? How come nobody else wants it? There must be something wrong with it. I probably don't want it either. So my recommendation is that you price it well from the beginning. You get a lot of buyers, and that you make your money on the back end, which you can do, by the way, by when you're selling your property rent to own, or also known as a lease option. You can typically get away with adding another 10 to 20% on top of the option price, assuming that you're going to give a nice lease term anywhere from 1 to 3 years, 3 years being ideal, 2 years probably being most average. And so if you'll do those things in combination, you can make the difference there on the purchase price when if the buyer decides to exercise their option. Of course, if they decide not to exercise their option, you can simply put the property back on the market, repackage it if the pricing is now in your favor, and do it all over again. Or you can just simply avoid putting a price at all and put to be determined based on the market appraisal at that given time when the buyer decides to exercise their option. So making money that way, I think that if you focus on the rental amount being nicely fitting with the current market rent, you'll have a lot more hands raised and a lot more people showing up at your property, and a far better chance of selling your property for your full asking price. All right, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next.